Paul Keating has delivered a scathing assessment of Australia's handling of its relationship with China. The former Prime Minister argues Australia should not intervene in any potential Taiwan conflict.
Paul Keating offering up a bipartisan berating, arguing Australian foreign policy has lost its way.
The parties, in respect of their current policies, are fundamentally not up to it, both of them.
The former Labor Prime Minister returned to the National Press Club for the first time in more than 25 years to speak out against Australia's response to Beijing's rise.
The Australian people are entitled to know that China is not going to try and rip up the system. China is not going to be attacking people.
Australia has been locked in a diplomatic deep freeze since the days of Malcolm Turnbull's prime ministership, unable to receive a phone call back from President Xi Jinping. But Mr Keating argues it's the approach in Canberra that needs to shift.
China's simply too big and too central to be ostracised.
Beijing's aggression in the South China Sea, though, has ostracised its regional neighbours and contravenes maritime law.
Big countries are rude. They do this stuff.
Under Xi, China has stoked fears that it will move to retake Taiwan.
And unless Taiwan tries to change its status, then I just don't think you'll see military action.
But if that assessment is wrong, the former PM argues Australia shouldn't commit itself to any conflict.
Taiwan is not a vital Australian interest.
Paul Keating instead offering a more optimistic view on China's future.
It has become more authoritarian. It will be a more civil society than the United States.
And while the former Labor leader says Australia can continue to speak up on human rights, he cautions
it can't be the whole conversation.
Paul Keating saves some of his most savage criticism for the party he once led, lashing Labor for being too quick to provide bipartisan backing to the coalition's approach.
Certainly Penny Wong's taken a position there shouldn't be an ounce of daylight between her and the Liberal Party. You have no big disputes because you're glued up onto the government, but you make no national progress.
He points to the AUKUS nuclear submarine deal, questioning the national security benefit of acquiring a nuclear fleet.
8 submarines against China, when we get the submarines in 20 years' time, it'll be like throwing a handful of toothpicks at a mountain.
Trudy McIntosh, Sky News, Canberra.